What's up, YouTube? Chisper the Horny Homemaker. Um, I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw this video about this guy who had this comment about him needing to forgive his mother, and he elaborated on that comment and put somebody in their place for saying that, and it inspired me to create this video. A lot of people say that I need to forgive my parents. I need to try to mend things. I need to stop being so angry all the time. Well, shit's about to get real right now. I've even got my cheesecake. This is going to be a long ass video, but you're going to see why it's going to unlock a lot of things for you as far as with me goes. I seem like I'm on edge all the time. I twitch a lot and I move around a lot. That's not drugs. That's not a disability. That is like a permanent nervous tick from all the shit that I've been through. I have been like bullied and harassed and just been through so much shit that I have nervous ticks, like permanent damage that makes my body twitch all the time. You know, it's just my body's way of like dealing with the shit that I've been through. You'll see me twitch a lot. You'll see my hands, like, my hands always be moving around, or I'll drop shit. It's because of being put through so much stress in my life, being beat down verbally and being attacked all the time, that I just have this nervous tick about me all the time, and I always seem like I'm on edge, and you know, I'm irritable a lot. And I'm about to elaborate on that. So, my number one and two worst enemies are my parents. I didn't see it as a child, but I'm seeing it now as an adult. And it's funny because I have an adopted cousin by the name of Jackie who has who has a speech impediment, learning disabilities, and when she was a fucking kid, and she's younger than me, she saw, whenever my parents were around, she said that she noticed as a kid that they treated me like a burden to them. And I can see it now. I mean, my mother always wore expensive clothes and had paid the salon like $170 to get her hair done. And I wanted to hug her. You know, I was an affectionate little kid, so every time I went to hug her, she would always push me away and tell me I was going to mess up her clothes, or she didn't want to get her hair messed up. So, you know, and I was forced to take medication all the time. I have had so much medication as a child, like a really young child. I'm talking 5 years old. I was popping more pills than a junkie. Which is exactly why I vape now. Because I don't believe in medication. I can't stand it. I felt like a fucking guinea pig my whole childhood. And I was never allowed to dress myself. My parents picked up my clothes all the way up until high school. then when I was in my early teens, they stopped taking me on vacations and they started taking the next door neighbors on vacations. One time we were in. One time they went to Niagara Falls and got a picture of themselves in this barrel, looking like they were all going over the falls in the barrel, and had like surprised or scared looks, goofy looks on their face in one picture, and then scared looks on their face in the other picture. And I got so pissed off because they kept taking these people, these neighbors, and leaving me at home. I destroyed the picture. I just scratched it up with a paper clip. And then several years later, I mean, this was like early teens, early 2000s. Not even, I think maybe even the late 90s. It could have been the late 90s. But then 2008, I think it was. My parents finally took me to Niagara Falls. And we came across that same exact barrel. And I asked my parents if they wanted to do a picture with me. And they said, no, you do it yourself. We already got ours. But you destroyed it. And they bitched me out for something that I did like at least 8 years ago. I may have destroyed that picture, but they destroyed my fucking childhood, making me sit at home whenever they would go out with the neighbors. And I got so tired of not having affection. Before I came out of the closet, they used to give me all kind of toys and gifts and anything I ever wanted. They handed it to me. But the one thing that I needed, they never gave me, which was affection and understanding. And so I started in high school, and throughout my entire school year, I was always bullied. I was always like, bullies were drawn to me all the time in school. Throughout my entire school years, even special ed schools, I was bullied. And I just wanted some sort of affection. So, yeah, and I started getting these feelings in my early high school, late middle school even. Late middle school, I started feeling like I wanted to be, I wanted to be with a man. I kept that shit repressed from all the way from 6th grade to, I don't know, like, from 6th grade all the way until I was about 14. But I was tired of not getting anything but hate. I was tired of my parents not hugging me, so I was talking to somebody and told them about, like, I was curious about men. They said, there's this website called Craigslist. Now, you can't, legally, you can't post an ad on Craigslist unless you're, like, 18, so I would lie. My father would be in the shower getting ready for work. And I know that he'd leave his keys on his nightstand, so I'd go to his nightstand and grab the keys, go to his office, and get on his computer and post an ad on Craigslist. And then I'd have a guy come over whenever I would get home from school. And I started being a slut. Like, every single day after school, I'd have a guy over. Or if I knew my parents were home early, I'd make sure to go meet them at the library, have them pick me up at the library, and I'd go on the computer there and answer my emails there and go back to his place. And I would tell him I was 18. Fast forward to um, after high school. After high school, I was 18. I thought the bullying would stop. And, it kind of had. I couldn't wait to get out of school because I couldn't wait for the bullying to stop. I couldn't wait to have some peace and tranquility and have an end to all the toxicity and the bullying and constantly feeling that need to defend myself for my own personal safety and peace. So, I came out of the closet when I was about, I guess, my senior year. My mother went through phases. First phase, my parents were in denial. Second phase, it was acceptance, but it's just a fad. You'll find you ain't been with the right girl yet. And then the third phase, total avoidance. Just they avoided me. They wouldn't really talk to me or anything, and so my mother used to go to this store called Christo's. It's a liquor store. And it's in walking distance, so whenever I didn't have anything to do, whenever I wasn't working, I would go to this liquor store just to hang out, just to hopefully see my mother. And in my mind, I was like hoping that I would see my mother going shopping for liquor so I could get a ride home with her and spend time with her. But she found out that I was hanging out there, and she stopped going. And they took me under their wing. Cue a whole new level of bullying. Because I used to get this guy, Mike, would take me out to the bar after he would get off work. We'd go bar crawling, but then after a while he would tell me that we were going to the bar, and I believed him. So I'd go home and I'd get ready, put some expensive cologne on, I'd get a shower, get my clothes on, and be sitting around waiting for him to come pick me up like he used to. And I wasted a lot of Friday nights. I wasted a lot of Saturday nights just sitting home waiting for him, believing that he was coming. And he never showed up. And people at Christos sit there and wonder why I can't stand him. And it's because of that. It's because he wasted a lot of my weekends, a lot of my youth. I just sat there. And then when I felt so rejected by my parents, because of being gay, I was thinking in my mind, maybe I'll go talk to a bunch of gay people who will take me in and welcome me and give me hugs and, no. I was sadly mistaken. Because let me rewind a little bit. When I turned 21, it was close to my 22nd birthday, I think. And or no, it was um, I was 21, and I don't know. My mother started her next phase of homophobia because I had a boyfriend. I started seeing somebody. I had my first boyfriend, and she knew she had to do something to piss me off to the point where I would have like a psychotic episode because I have bipolar, depression, anxiety, and autism. So she knew all she had to do was tell me something that would piss me off to the point where I'd do something. That way she could just call the police and have me hauled away, ending the fresh new relationship. And it worked so well that she made it her go-to for every time. But what happened was she I'm not going to get into all the things that happened. I'm not going to go into detail, but I am going to say that she she does this thing called reactive abuse, which she abuses me. Reactive abuse is when somebody abuses you to the point where you have had enough and you snap and you fight back, which is a reaction, and then they sit there and accuse you and act like you're the monster. That's reactive abuse. And that's what my mother does every single time I'm in a relationship, to have me put in jail, put in a mental institution, or running away. And by the time I would get home from any of those places, I would contact the person of interest that I was talking to prior to that, and they would move on. They would be with somebody else, or they would change the number or something. You know, I would never be with them because the fresh new relationship never had time to grow into something strong enough to keep that person interested in me. My mother cut it off before it became that strong. And then the first reactive abuse situation had me hauled off to a mental institution where they told me I was going to just stay there for 72 hours. Well, the 72 hours turned into 2 weeks. The doctor said, "You're getting discharged today, yay!" And here I am thinking, it's been 2 weeks. I am so glad I'm going home, yay! Well, here's a doozy for you. I had a doctor call me and pull me into an office because they didn't want anybody to hear what they had to say except for me. And they said, "Chase, you are being discharged today, but you're not going home. There's two plainclothes police officers that are going to come in here. They're going to take you, and you're going to jail." And they said, "You're only going to be there for one night, though. They're going to let you out tomorrow. You're just going to spend the night there." I figured, okay, what the hell, why not? I just spent 2 weeks in the mental hospital. What's one night in jail? I'll be home tomorrow, yay. Went there. The police officers picked me up. They said the same thing. You're going home tomorrow. You ain't got to worry about anything. So I believed them. I believe the doctors. I believe the police officers. Well, I did not just spend that one night. That one night turned into 6 months. And then I was released to a group home where I was just constantly targeted by this one guy who, every time he'd get upset, he would go after me, try to hit me with pots and pans, and they had to lock the fucking kitchen drawers to the point where I couldn't cook anything. And it was like a prison. You know, they let this one guy go buy Chinese food and McDonald's and Subway and pizza and everything else, and they always told me, the person getting a paycheck and working at Liberty Tax and Spirit Halloween and United Crab and Seafood, they told me, the working one, to go find something in the freezer. I could never enjoy food outside. So I went to, I had a sugar daddy at the time, and I had this guy I was seeing, this flight attendant, who was talking about marrying me, and he lived in New York. So after about 3 years, I got fed up with this place, them lying to my parents, them not doing anything for me, throwing away shit that I would buy because they thought it was tacky. And I had enough. I had my sugar daddy come by with the fire escape ladder, climbed down the climbed out the window, got in his car, and we drove off to his friend's house, way, way, way out, like 50 miles away. Then they were calling me me in the morning, and they were calling him in the morning, and I confessed to him, okay, I have somebody I'm seeing in New York. Just give me a train ticket, and I'll go see him. He didn't like that much, but we knew that I was not safe. I needed to get away for my safety. So I contacted my alleged fiance in New York. I was contacting him the whole time I was on the train. He thought I was joking, but he actually did show up just to see if I would be there. But he didn't think I would be, but just for shits and grins, he showed up and met up with me. But he said that I couldn't come to his house because his landlord, his female landlord, lives with him, which, that's a lie. Turns out he's married to a woman, and I was just a sex object. I went all the way out to New York just to find out I was a sex object, running away from a catastrophic, dangerous situation and putting myself right on the streets, running to somebody who I thought was going to marry me, just to be put on the streets in New York, of all places, where I met a bunch of homeless people, and I panhandled for somebody who was with me that said that they were going to get a room, and I made like $100 panhandling, doing what this person said, and that person ran off with the $100 that I made. His friend, though, who I met up with, said that he's going to beat the living fuck out of him for doing that, which that's the only positive thing that came out of that. I lost everything. Everything that was in the group home, everything that I carried with me, I lost. So my parents picked me up after 2 weeks in New York, and I got put back in jail, and then for running away, I was put in jail because I wasn't legally allowed to leave the group home. So then I went back out with living with my parents until another relationship started to blossom. Then they put me in a mental hospital for 2 weeks. The relationship ended. I went to, I was on, then 2018 comes. Yeah, 2018 comes, and I was on Craigslist looking for a booty call. And in the men seeking men section, I saw something that caught my eye. Free trip to Los Angeles. I looked at it. This person just needed help packing their house into this moving crate. And so I responded, and there was like 4 other guys that wanted to go with this guy. And I was the one he chose to take with him to Los Angeles. So I went to Los Angeles and stayed out there for a month and really enjoyed myself. I accidentally ran the LA Marathon. I got hit by a car, actually. It was kind of, well, looking back now, I'm glad I did, so I can honestly sit here and tell you that I got hit by a car. But that's the only reason I'm glad I did. Knocked me out of my shoes. It hit me so hard, so fast. And then the next day I went out for pizza. But then after a month of being out there, I was telling my parents I'm coming back home, and they were very adamant. They were telling me, you left, you're not coming back home. I thought you were going to move out there, blah 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 blah. No, I'm coming back home. It was a vacation. And they just weren't having it. I had to beg and plead with them. I guess they thought I guess they thought maybe I would get killed, maybe I wouldn't survive, and they'd be off the hook. But it's almost like they were disappointed. They were upset that I survived a whole month out there with practically nothing but the clothes on my back. Because they didn't want me coming back home. And then I came home. And I was at this point I was off probation. My life was finally back to normal. Like, back to normal. And mind you, I used to be the most popular person in my hometown. So I was getting my popularity back. I was getting after being on the streets and being in group homes and jails and everything, I was finally starting to look like my glamorous self. I always, before that whole part of my life where I was in the group homes and in jails and on the streets and in institutions, before all that, I always felt glamorous. My appearance was always like glowing, and my skin was always perfect, and I didn't have any blemishes, never was filthy, and I always had really nice clothes on, and I always felt glamorous. And then I was starting to get that. And then I met this guy, Tom Weeks, who would basically keep me a prisoner in my parents' house every single night. I would ask him, you want to go to karaoke? No, let's just stay home and watch the Golden Girls. Well, when we stayed home watching Golden Girls, he put his hand on me and made get me turned on, and it doesn't take much to get my sex drive going. He knew that, and we just go at it all night long. And in the morning, he'd go off to work. I'd be cleaning up the mess around the house. After about 5 days, I caught on. I said, "Look, we, you need to, you and I are going to karaoke. We're doing something tonight, but we ain't sitting around the house. You're using me for sex." The whole fucking day he's cussing me out on the phone, and then he picks me up, didn't give me time to put my shoes on, takes me down this wooded road, this old gravel road, driving me down there, tries to hit me in the head with a wrench, and I bit his nose, and he's screaming and calls the police, and here I am getting hauled back off the jail, back to square one. So then I got released after about a month and a half. They wanted to give me 9 years in prison for that, for self-defense. But my mother was actually showed some humanity for once in her miserable, hateful life. She showed some humanity because I was on the phone with my lawyer, public defender, and he was on speaker, and he's like, tomorrow they're gonna, I was talking to him about like the court date that was gonna happen like the next day, and he's like, well, I'm gonna try my hardest, but I don't think I think they're gonna give you 9 years in prison for it. And my mother overheard that, and she told me, Chase, if you want to run, I'll call Dad right now. He'll come home early. He'll go to the bank. He'll give you $500, and I will give you. I'll give you enough to get you a ticket anywhere in the U.S. that you want to go. I agreed. Then I went to New York and stayed out there for a couple of days, and then I went to Tennessee so I could be with my cousin Adam, who abandoned me. He didn't even come see me. The only thing he did was send the pizza to my hotel room. I was trying to visit my Aunt Pam out there. She didn't want to come see me. So I was alone, and I just started couch surfing. And then I wound up going back home after getting my warrant squashed, and then I was going to go to court for this thing. And I was going to deal with it and face the music, but then I started getting in a relationship again. And it was a healthy one because obviously my mother doesn't care if I'm in an abusive one because that'll end itself. But if I'm in a healthy relationship, she'll intervene, and she did. Now, what pissed me off about this is that she didn't care. She didn't care that I was on probation. I was on pretrial release. Actually, I didn't even go to court yet for this thing. I had the warrant quashed. I came back home, and I was going to go take care of everything. But then my mother had one of her conniptions and one of her reactive abuse spells towards me, and one thing led to another, and I left. She threw me out, and I was working at the time, so I wound up sleeping outside. One of my supervisors came up and said that I was starting to smell a little ripe. Why am I not showering? Blah, blah, blah. I had to tell him I was thrown out. And then I went to I was supposed to go to court in November, like sometime before Thanksgiving. I was supposed to go to court, but I didn't because I didn't want to wind up a human popsicle. So I left Maryland, went to Georgia, then I went to Florida, and then I went to all over the country where I have been abused by a lot of people. A lot of people would see this homeless gay guy outside all over the country. It's just the place that changes, you know. But throughout the country, there were people seeing this homeless gay guy. Oh, do you need a place to stay? Well, come on. You can stay with us. You can stay with me. No. Those kind of people prey on people like that. And I have been through so much shit with every single one of them. It was always toxic. It was always people who were narcissistic. They didn't care about me. They just wanted a pretty face in the house. They wanted to hold it over my head. Well, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, because I'm offering you a place to stay. If you don't like that, get the fuck out. Blah blah blah. Well, there's rules, and you know, there's house rules, which I'm fine with, but then there's, you can't go live your life. You can't do this. You're my prisoner, basically. There's house rules, and then there's holding your guest captive as a prisoner and holding it over the roof over the head, which is what I dealt with. And then through it all, I've been the victim of cyberbullying. Like, throughout my entire life on the internet, I have had a shit ton of backlash and cyberbullying coming after me. I would be at the park sometimes, and there would be a homophobic guy there. Once in a while, I would get in a fucking bloodbath brawl and wind up losing my teeth. The reason I don't have any teeth is because I would lose one or two with every physical fight that I had out there on the streets. Just to show you how many physical fights I've had. There's nothing really left to the top row. Just stumps of every tooth that I lost. And it would be like one or two per fight. So, I've been in a lot of fights. I've been fighting my whole life. I've been defending myself my whole life. Whether it be up against my parents, against the bullies in school, against people who don't show up, people who, and then, you know, after the 6 years, after traveling the country and dealing with that shit for 6 years, you know, I got married in Wisconsin. And then my parents had sent the police to come pick me up and extradite me back to Maryland. Then they lied about my ex-husband. So, then he did a video talking about I survived a narcissist attack. He was not gonna let me have my stuff back. He wasn't gonna send it back until I kept hounding him for it, and then I finally got my apartment here. I finally got the apartment here, and I thought I was safe. I thought I was fine. Through this shitty life, thought I had a place to feel safe and have sanctuary, but then I had this one guy come in and punch my TV because he was not he had a problem with me telling him that he needed to get off his phone if he was gonna be in my apartment, and he tried to attack me, which is why I cannot stand people being on their phones. Not only that, but I was going to get my stuff from storage in Florida, and I was dating somebody who was a phone addict, and they threw me through the wall because I made a comment about them on being on the phone. Threw me through the wall of my storage unit, not at the wall, but through it. I landed in somebody else's storage unit, and that's two things. You know, two. I had my storage unit destroyed. I had my TV destroyed, both over me asking somebody to put their phone down. That's why I have a problem with people on their phones now, like a huge problem. So, had my sanctuary kind of broken over that, and then it really got broken when I had one of my fans on here stab me in the back. And this fan, I thought I could trust. I was feeling like I could trust this person with my life. And because they wanted to put me on this, this little video that they were doing, and I was expecting, them to be interviewing me, like asking me what made me want to go travel, what brought me to St. Louis, blah, 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 have a stimulating conversation. Instead, I'm eating Oreos, watching some guy lick a plunger. And then that guy was brought onto the Discord group, and I pulled the main person aside who runs the Discord group, and I told her about it. I said I want to leave because I noticed that there was this whole drama ordeal where this person was being pissy with somebody for no reason, and they just started having more drama than the Young and the Restless. And I used a lot of, analogies and sarcasm, and basically what any other comedian would do. Anybody with a sense of humor and a thick skin would say. I handled it like that. And I didn't say it to the group. I said it to one person, pulled them aside, so nobody would be getting their feelings hurt. And the thanks I got was that bitch telling me to go fuck myself, telling me she hopes somebody beats me with somebody comes over here and beats me with one of my animatronics, and it catches fire and burns the entire apartment building down. Because I came to you to express myself versus saying anything on the group to hurt feelings, and then you're gonna do to me what I avoided. And then after that, I went and tried to talk to her husband, who said you are not going to disrespect her because she's my wife. Well, then she should have probably learned not to disrespect me first. She started it, and it doesn't matter who the fuck she is or who she's related to. She's not going to disrespect me like that and get away with it. So, then there was a whole fucking ordeal on here. On my channel with all these comments and all these haters and like an endless supply of trolls, and me getting like 100 calls within 30 minutes, and to the point where I literally screenshotted all these calls, and at some point I am going to be doing a check on these numbers so that I can find out who they belong to, where the person lives, and have some court summons and a restraining order sent to the houses so that if they call again, they're going to jail. And aside from that, people wonder why I'm so angry, why I'm so bitter, why I have zero tolerance for a lot of things and stupidity. I've been through so much shit. I've been through homelessness, bullying, starvation. I've slept in a dumpster while everyone I knew in my circle of friends was having a fun night. I've been beat up. I've had to fight back with my body, my mouth, my fists, my words. Every atom of my being has turned into a fighter. And I really, really would just love to have some peace. You know, I don't belong. I feel like a horror movie, one of the heroes in the horror movie just fighting off evil all the time. And I just can't catch a break. Because every time I fend off one evil entity, one toxic person, another one shows up. Or two of them. And here I am fighting and fighting and fighting all the time. Fighting and defending myself. And I don't belong doing that. I belong being respected and having the time, just the time that I spend fighting, I should be trying to take acting lessons or go be in, do whatever it takes to be in movies and shows and sitcoms and be in theater and on stage, because that's where I want to be. But I'm too busy defending myself to live up them dreams and you be a mortician, be an actor, be a singer, be a dancer, be a comedian. I can't do that. My whole life has just turned into a war, a battlefield. This is not a life, you know? I don't live a life. I live in a war zone. My life is one constant war zone. A never-ending battlefield that I cannot seem to run away from and sit down and have some peace. I mean, I can and watch TV, but then Spectrum, it'll buffer. No matter what I do, there's no peace. There's never been peace in my life. There's never been a time for me to sit back, relax, and know that I'm not going to be fighting something or trying to fix something, or I've never had that. And I think I'd like to know what it feels like to sit back and not worry about something. Told you this was going to be a long video. Just didn't even have time to my cheesecake. But if you ever see me and see that I'm acting weird or moving around a lot, yeah, now you know. I have been fighting so long, I've got nervous tics, permanent. It's like the tweaker without the drugs. You know, I got this permanent tweak going on. And it's always there. It's always going to be there. And it's only going to get worse. I've noticed that if I suffer something like truly traumatic, my twitches and motions get worse, and I sometimes develop a new one that just stays. So, and that this is a 50-minute video, and guess what, guys? I gave you a gist. I gave you the super condensed version, just to give you some indication as to why my life has been a battlefield. Why I've been fighting my whole life. Why I don't even feel human. If you really want to know something deeply disturbing about me, something very, very unsettling. I'll tell you my deepest, darkest secret. I haven't felt human in a long time. I can't remember the last time I felt human. Because I feel like a monster that's just been created by all the other monsters. And this is just my windmill. I have I either feel like a fucking monster because I have all these people just chasing after me with their flaming torches up the windmill, or I feel like a hero in a horror movie that's killing demons and deadites and zombies and whatever. You know, I'm always on the attack. I'm either a hero or a monster. But I can't remember the last time I felt like a human. I want to feel like a human again. I want to feel like a human. And I want to know what it feel. I want to know what love feels like. Because I do not know what it feels like to be loved by a human. I know what it feels like to be liked by a human. But I don't know what a human's love feels like. And that's sad. I know what hate feels like. That's a very familiar feeling. I know what betrayal feels like. I know what hate feels like. I know what being stabbed in the back feels like. I know what rejection feels like. I know what bullying feels like. I know what anger feels like. I know what rage feels like. I know what heartbreak feels like. But I do not know what love feels like. And if I was to give you the full drawn out version of what I just told you, I guarantee you it would take me at least 6 hours to get through that. At least 6 hours. But I condensed it into 52 minutes.